So in this part of the tutorial, in the following, we're going to add the records or the classmates to the list of our database so that later we can retrieve the classmates list inside of our tables that we have already created inside of the index.html. But before we add the part related to adding the classmates, we can see how this page related to the classmates work by adding some headings in the table. So even now that we have an empty database, that we have no classmates inside of our tables, we must be able to check something in our page so that we see that we are having the right URL, we are having the right HTML file inside of the index.html, and so on. So let's create a heading inside of our table that, for example, says the name of the student, and the other one says the first name, the last name. So now here we can add the very same tag like here. So we can say that, for example, tr. So but here, instead of td tag, we have th because this is related to the heading, table heading. So th here. So let's close this, and okay, here we can say id. So it's better to be a string, right? Okay, let me fix this right over here. Okay, so it's better not to have the quotation marks because we are having this on HTML. This is not Python. Okay, so first name for this one, and by the way, these are just the names. These are not variables. Okay, so first name and the last name, or can connect to each other. Okay, there we go. So we must have a table even if we don't have a database. So let's save this, and here run python 3 manage.py run server. So let's follow the link and open it up here. So we need to go to classmates address. Okay, let's see what problems we have here. So now I fixed the error, and the error came from these views here. We wrote value, but we need to write values. So it has s here. So in your code, you should fix here, and instead of value, you should write values. So right over here, you don't see a table, such kind of a table, but in order to have a border, in order for it to have some borders of the table, we should add also something to our index.html instead of our table. So you can add border, and here I can write 1. So let's check this one. And okay, as you can see here, we have borders. So now we need to add some data to our database by adding the records. So here, first of all, inside of our index.html, we need to add kind of a link so that we can add a record, and so that we are redirected to a new page for adding the records, for adding the first name and the last name of the classmates, and then we will be able to add data to our database. So first of all, let's do this. A p tag, and now an a tag. Actually, href needs to be written here. So here we want to add classmates. So here write the link to the URL. So we will create the URL by ourselves, but here let's write add, and then that's it. Okay, so add classmates is the name and this is the URL. So here let's go to views and define a new function for that. So I can write def add, then request, and then here I'm going to write the template. So I'm going to add the template related to that. So classmates.object.getTemplate and okay, so let's check. Okay, here is loader, not classmates, loader, and then there we go. So here we should write a new HTML file called add.html. So let's create this, and by the way, let me just press Ctrl C in order to terminate the server, and so that we can so easily continue developing our application. So let's create a new file and call it add.html. So in here we need to have doc type HTML, and then I can add a heading h1, and then right here add classmates, and then we need a form here in order to write and add the names of the first name and the last name of the new classmates. So now we should create a form. This is form tag, and so we need to also create kind of a new URL for that. So I can name this add a student. So here action equals to add a student. So this is a new URL that I'm going to add to other URLs in the following. Also, we had add URL, which we were going to add to the urls.py. So let me check something over here. Okay, there we go. So we were here, and so it's better to add apostrophes instead of quotation marks. That's another very big difference. And then we want to post this. So here we write method equals post, and there we go. We can close the tag and we have the form. Now in every form for security, DTL has a kind of a code called CSRF token. So here I'm going to write it CSRF underline token. There we go. So, and next we should add our inputs. So first of all, I need to write first name, and then add BR tag to go to the next line. Also last name, and also a BR to go to the next line. Okay, now we need to add the input tag over here, input. So it should be inside of a tag, input. And the name of this is first name. So let's close the tag. And by the way, something else, because we have already had another name called first name, and in order not to mix those up together, let's write first in, and okay, there we go. So let's add BR tags. So I'm gonna add a couple of BR tags over here so that there is a space between the first name and the last name. And there we go. Right here we can copy and paste again this one, and there we go. So we don't need another BR tag for here, or okay, so, and this is the last thing. And by the way, there's no need to close this tag because that's a right thing to write. Okay, so we've added the first name and the last name, and now we should create a kind of button in order to save this record. So to do that, we can write another input, and then we can add the type, which is submit. So here I can write submit, and then we can give it a value, which is the name of the button that we want to add. Value, and here I can write save, for example, or we can write submit, doesn't really make a difference. And okay, by the way, we have double BR. By the way, this is inside of the form tag, so it should be placed right over here inside of the form tag. So let's save this. Okay, there we go. And for a better reading, it's better to add these BR tags inside of the separate line. So there we go. And we have everything set up for our new form. So let's save this and get back to views.py. So now we also need to return HTTP response for this function inside of add. So this is it, and so we need, this is actually template, right? Okay, so, and we don't have any context, and instead we write brackets. So there we go, because this is going to add a record for us. So we need to also add classmate, right? Okay, what was the name of what we wanted to do? So it was inside of the add.html. So it was add a student. So let's write here add student as well. Doesn't really make a difference, but it's better to write it that way. And so request, and then here we don't have any template for this, right? Because this is kind of a URL, and we haven't created a kind of a template for this. So what this is going to do is inside of this edit HTML, what it's going to do is going to post the data that we've got here in the form, the first name and the last name, to the database. So what it's going to do is to save to the database, post our data to the database. And this is not related to a kind of a template. So we don't need to load any template. We only need to get the data related to the form that the user is going to enter over and over again. So here, let me just go over here, and we were inside of the add.html. So we had an action which was add a student, right? So here we want to post the first name and the last name. So let's get back to views.py, and in here I'm going to write F and for L, and F for first name and L for the last name. And here write request dot post. So what we had over here was first in inside of the tag. So as you can see here, we had first in for the first name, okay, so, and then we had this for the last n, or the last name. So there we go. So now let's add this to our model, right? So our model name was classmate. Classmates doesn't really matter. Classmates was the original name of the model, and we had first name, which we want to make it equal to L, and then we had the last name, which we want to make it equal to, so this one actually was F and L. And now we want to save this to our database. Classmates.save. And there we go, we've saved it to our database. For better understanding, this needs not to be a plural because this is one classmate, okay, which is going to be added to the classmates model, which contains first name and the last name. And after doing all of this, after pressing the button, so this function is all about pressing the button and saving this to database. But what we want to do at the end is to be redirected to the main page, which was related to the table of the database, which was related to showing the database, showing the list of the students. So here we write return HTTP response and also redirect. So we want to be redirected to the, actually this is redirect, or so probably I need to import something. Yes, I need to import HTTP response redirect. So redirect. Okay, there we go. So we have it over here, and so we can use it right here and instead of this function. So return HTTP response redirect, and then we write reverse because we want to get back to the page we were. Reverse index. Okay, so index is this function over here. And by the way, it should be inside of apostrophes. Okay, now it's all right. So now that we've written all of these, we need to add URL and also add student URL to our urls.py. So now let's go to our URLs, not this one, the other one inside of our app folder. And here I'm gonna write path. And then here we will have apostrophes and then add and then backslash. And right here we're going to have comma and views, and inside of our views we had a function for adding, so views.add, and then the name equals to apostrophe, and we can call this add. So now let's create another path inside of the add. So this is one of these sub directory related to add, which is add classmates. And so let me check this views.py. It was add student actually, right? So actually let's test our template, which was add HTML. So it was add student, okay, like this. So let me copy it, so because these names should be exactly the same. If there's any problem, even capital or small letters, then everything will go wrong, so be careful about that. And then the function which was inside of the views.py was views dot use dot add, and we had add student, right? Add student. So let's check again in order to make sure. Okay, we had add student. Okay, there we go. And now right here we have 2 views. Okay, now it's all right, I guess. But there's something wrong. Here the name should have colors, right? So we have views and we have dot add student. Okay, I don't think there's any problem, but it shows that there is a problem. And then I can call it add student. So again, let's check this one over here, add student, no problem. So let me copy it in order to make sure. And so add student, no problem. Okay, I found the problem is this comma over here, and now there's no problem. Okay, now if we run our server one more time, let's see what happens when we follow the link. So let's refresh this page, and as you can see, we are having add classmate link. So let's go over here. So this one should be one of the subdirectories of classmates. So why isn't it that way? We need to check inside of our urls.py. So right over here in our urls.py, we have add, which is one of the subdirectories of classmates. Okay, now the problem is right here, add should be changed with this. So now let's try one more time, and okay, we had / here, we changed it to over here. That was a mistake in our code. Now we fixed this, so let's go one more time. Okay, still we seem to have a problem, but if I write add over here, we'll be redirected to this page. So let's first try this one, and we will find the problem why we are not redirected to classmates and add. Probably it's a problem in our coding related to urls.py. But for now, let's add a name, for example, Jane, or for example, I can say Mary Jane, right? Mary and Jane. So let's save this. We have another problem which is related to this. We shouldn't be redirected to here. So we should probably fix our fix the code related to that part, which is related to our views.py and also URLs. We probably have done something wrong or have written a name wrong over here. So here we have added students, classmates, and so this is the name of our model, right? We had it inside of our models.py. So this is all right. We also have these classmates. We have add student, which is the name of our function, which we have written the name over here. It add student. Okay, add student over here, and also we had another add student, which was inside of our add over here. As you can see, the action. So now the problem here, it comes from something over here inside of our views.py. So here, instead of parentheses, we should have square brackets. Okay, let's fix this and retry everything. So now let's save this and get back to our link. So we want to add Mary Jane. We still seem to have a kind of mistake, reverse expect. So this is another bug which is related to reverse expected 2 arguments, got 1. So probably we need to add 2 arguments over here. And the other one maybe is request. So here actually we need to import reverse. So from Django dot URLs import reverse. So now let's save this and refresh our page. Let's get back to where we were. So let's save, and as you can see, we've added our name, but here it's done twice, and interestingly, we don't have the first name and the last name. Instead, we have x dot first name and last name. So let's fix this inside of our templates on the add.html inside of form, actually inside index.html. So here x should represent at the actual data, not itself. And the reason this is happening is because we haven't added the DTL or Django template language brackets. So we need a double brackets for each one of these variables, because these are not names, these are variables that we want to import from our Django views. So there we go, it's been fixed. And so let's save this code and here retry another time. And as you can see, 2 Mary Janes has been added, but not sure why this is happening twice. Probably it's because we've done this twice, but let's try another name. Let's try, for example, James Thompson. Okay, let's save this, and as you can see, it's been saved only once. So probably we've saved Mary Jane twice. So for this, we will also, in the next part of our tutorials, we will also add a part for deleting the names. So probably we've entered a name wrong. We want to update it, so we will create an update part for that. Inside of our views.py, there are also times that we want to delete a name from our records, right? So we will need to update it or remove it. So for now, enjoy this application that we've created right now. We can enter as many names as we want to this table, and it will add this to our database.